Hey, White Sox fans, 50. Southside Sox Mothership Podcast number 50. And for once, it seems like we're always doing emergency podcasts when bad things happen, like a White Sox player breaks or whatever, Hey, we are doing a podcast now after a Minnesota Twins series where basically the White Sox put them 6 feet under. Not that they shouldn't have had any uppity attitude about, I don't know, leaving town 8.5 back or whatever they thought they were going to do. The White Sox have dominated Minnesota this year. They dominated them well enough in this just 3-game series. Minnesota's lucky. It turned out only to be 3 games, thanks to the opener rainout. Well, we'll get to the details about how fortunate the White Sox are right now in first place and how well they did in dominating the Twins this week. But let me introduce. We've got a 4-pack here. We've even got some central time zone representation. I'm Brett Ballantini. We have Tyrone Palmer, who is joining us now for like a quick back-to-back podcast. Welcome, Tyrone, who I believe was at the ball game today.
I was.
The broom.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for the broom duty. Jeremy Karll on the very, very, very western edge of the central time zone. Thank you for, again, finally hopping back on and joining for a podcast. Jeremy, thank you for being here with us. And Tommy Barbee, doing his thing, Eastern time zone representing.
I try.
Thank you for hopping on. All right, let's get to these White Sox here. 14.5 games in front of the Minnesota Twins. 4.5 or something up in first place. Magic number for the White Sox, 80. Run differential up to 95, which is second in the American League behind Houston, and Houston has us to thank for that to some degree. 4th overall in baseball. Right now, run differential wise, White Sox projecting to 101 win season. Just if you take the winning percentage, it's still 97 wins. Definitely outpacing any of the kicks any of us made before the season started. So the White Sox, even with like half a legit lineup, are doing what they need to do. Tell me what you guys thought about just what you saw and what they did in really taking the Twins to the shed. Going into it sort of shaky, splitting in Pittsburgh, doing very poorly against Seattle, starting the homestand, and then really doing what they need to do against Minnesota.
I'm just happy.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I'm just happy they're hitting home runs.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it had been a long stretch of just no power, except for occasionally Yasmani Grandal. So it was nice to see them score runs consistently. And also, I remember like last episode mentioning that I have just like an irrational fear of the Twins. Like even going into the series of just, I know mathematically they're pretty much out of it, but I'm like, you never know though. But I feel like now I'm less afraid. I don't.
And what was nice about this is the Twins were talking big. I don't know about the players. Obviously, they had the whole drama with the players, but a lot of fans still talking big. Like, I don't know, they'd won like 7 of 10 coming into it. So suddenly this is going to like turn around their season. It's like, okay, guys, I like your optimism because your season's just about over, but White Sox shut that down real quick. Jeremy, Tommy, I assume same. This is just incredibly encouraging to see for a team that had been treading water for maybe 5-6 games before this.
Yeah, I think definitely just the offense, the home runs, and then also how they kind of fell behind in the first 2 games, were able to come back. I know when they went down like 2-0 in the first game of the series, I wasn't too confident they would get the offense rolling enough to even score 3 runs, but to see them kind of fall down and be able to pick themselves up, which they haven't really been able to do recently, that's really nice to see, along with the home runs that we kind of mentioned and just the offense in general. Finally, I guess a get right series. It's great to happen against the Twins. It's a great team to have it happen against.
Absolutely, and thank you, Josh Donaldson, because I seriously think his antics kind of ratcheted the Sox up to that extra gear that they needed. Because and I think Grandal even said as much after the game, but it was they had that swagger in those last couple of games that was missing from the last few series, quite honestly, and it seemed like they were kind of getting into a lull. So I think if that's what it takes to wake them up, take it and run with it. But that seemed like they hit a switch.
Guys, how lost you got to be as a player, maybe as a human being, to double and triple down on you're already your goofy statements and sort of lashing out with it, whatever he said, crossing the play, whatever, to the point where you're making up some weird story about like confronting Lucas Giolito in the players' parking lot, and like there's like it's the Jets and the Sharks. What is going on here? This guy, I gotta say, decent ball player, but really comes across as a clown. Even Twins fans are sort of like, yeah, he's not really one of us.
He's a piece of work, man.
I mean, it's cute. I love it. I love the fact that he's like saying that he was like waiting for him in the players' parking lot. You know, like they all get on a bus and they go to Old Country Buffet together.
Well, not only that, I mean, can you imagine if the story held any water whatsoever? Just like, you know, you're Lucas Giolito, you're in the mindset of, you know, the game, and here's this other random player coming up to you trying to talk to you. Like, what good with that? Like, what are you going to say?
Like they're old pals. Like he went to Westlake too. Like, oh yeah, hey man, it's been a while. What was going on out there on the field, man? One thing, speaking to the power outage that Tyrone had referred to, and I thought it was a fun thing that Lee Allen had put in his pregame game thread today, which was, you know, is as if the White Sox had realized that the month was almost up and they needed to get their homers, you know, they needed to cash them in on the 30th of June as possible. It's nice to see that there's still a little bit of power here now that we moved into July, and with the weather warming up, even with this sort of makeshift lineup, I mean, it's encouraging to know that even guys like Zach Collins, who isn't going to put up like great offensive numbers, can still take the ball out of the park. And now it's like the White Sox, nobody's afraid to do it now. The floodgate is opened, even without some of their big boppers, and they can get some balls over the fence. This is the time to really start doing it. And I guess we're seeing that.
Yeah, definitely. I think someone even like Brian Goodwin, if he can keep doing what he's been doing, hit some home runs, just hit well enough. Obviously, you want a Lloyd back, you want Luis Robert back, but until then, if he could just provide like stable production, something that they really haven't gotten in the outfield, you know, be better than Adam Eden, then that's just a huge boost for a lineup that's, you know, like half AAA players right now.
Yeah.
And it's been nice to see like the bottom of the lineup do like producing a lot this series, where you had like, I mean, Vaughn started to look somewhat comfortable against righties, which was nice to see. You had Collins hitting right-handed pitching, so that's been big. Goodwin's been doing well. Like, so just having any offensive production against righties, I feel like, is what this team has just been missing all year. And then you had Gavin Sheets, another guy who from the left-hand side is able to produce right away. Like they had a stat today where he was like the second player in White Sox history to have extra base hits in his first 3 games.
I mean, not just produce, but look like an accomplished hitter every at bat. Like, I mean, even when he was fouling them off, he was hitting the ball so hard. I mean, I even tweeted out, it's like, it looks like he's taking batting practice. Like, he just looked so comfortable right away. I haven't seen that level of maturity from a hitter in quite a while.
It's the lack of tact, Tommy. It's turning
I know
all major league pitchers into BP.
Everyone.
Yeah,
it's been nice to see them finally start to score, because I remember when they first stopped allowing pitchers to use anything, and it felt like around the league offense was spiking, except for during White Sox games. So it's nice to finally see them actually start to take advantage of that.
I'm gonna dry my eyes after laughing at the expense of Josh Donaldson. I always say like this is the midpoint, and then we end up talking for like an hour afterward. We'll see if that'll happen, but we do definitely have some things, including injury news, to talk about. We're going to take a quick break on podcast number 50. We will be right back in just a minute. And hey, just like that, the minute's up, and we are back with Southside Sox podcast number 50. I'm your host, Brett Ballantini. With me from the ball game, we have sort of some sleeper agents here on the podcast today. Tyrone Palmer at the game, maybe not with the broom, but certainly with a broom in his heart, making sure the Twins didn't rise out of the grave, trampling their grave in the afternoon game today. Welcome, Tyrone. Thank you for being with us. Jeremy Karll, who I believe for these games, Minnesota games, is forced to have to listen to Minnesota broadcast so he can provide us perhaps view from the other side in that way. And that's always sort of colorful and entertaining because those guys like to wag their lips. Cute to hear. And Tommy Barbee, we just like having Tommy around. He's not really a sleeper agent as far as I know. That's the thing about sleeper agents. You really don't know how they function. So keep an eye on that guy down there in the corner. Okay, let's talk about some developments, some good, some bad, and always having to do with injuries because it's the Chicago White Sox. The guys with the bats, they can't stay healthy. Today, Yoán Moncada, despite having all sorts of armor on his legs and elbows and arms and head and neck, slid headfirst into third base and busted up his hand nicely. Apparently, it's just bruised. It does seem like at the minimum, he is going to be out for this weekend series in Detroit. Whether or not it necessitates a call-up, there's a lot of buzz now all of a sudden because everybody likes, I guess they like Hollywood films that don't involve a superhero. I'm not sure if Jake Burger is a superhero, but there seems to be a lot of talk about Jake Burger being the call-up. So let's get right to whether or not that's the right call. First of all, do we think anybody is going to be called up to take Yoán's place? I guess we don't really know the extent of the injury. It seems like it might just be a few games, but what's the initial thought about whether or not they're even going to bring somebody up to replace Yoán?
I think they might, I mean, I know Joe Resis said, right, like they're hoping he'll be back after this Detroit series, but I mean, going to All-Star break, maybe you give him a little bit of extra rest, see what you got with Burger or Beckham. I mean, for the sake of the White Sox lineup that's just started to get rolling, like we talked about, I hope Moncada isn't going on the IL, just for the sense of he's one of their best hitters. He's actually a major league hitter who's, puts fear into pitchers, I think, unlike some of the other players they have. But, I mean, if it's bad enough, I don't want him pulling a Jose Abreu because not everyone can just play through, every injury they get.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why I'm leaning towards him going to the IL, just because he has looked like he's played well, but he's also looked a little hurt. And, the injuries add up, and he's not someone like Abreu who could basically be bleeding out on the field and still demand to play every day. And this is the perfect time right around the All-Star break, give him the rest, let him heal up for the rest of the season. And you get the added benefit of either A, seeing what Jake Burger has, or B, showcasing him prior to the trade deadline to say, here's what we have. Isn't he shiny and wonderful? And don't you want to trade all of your prime guys for this guy right here? I think it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah, I definitely agree that, I feel like you need to be careful with Moncada too, just because all year he just hasn't looked quite right. Like, he's been playing well, but like even at the game today when he had his single, and it was one of those plays where I was like, maybe he'll try to stretch it to a double, and then I looked down, he was maybe like halfway up the first base line, and he was kind of, and then he finally did go first to third on the next play, and that's when he got hurt, and he's constantly limping, and I'm just always a little concerned about him, and I feel like this is one where just let him rest for a little bit, don't rush him. And I think, I don't know, I'm very curious to see Jake Burger, assuming he's the one who gets called up, just because I don't know how to properly understand AAA numbers at all, both in that park and with the bouncy baseball.
Yeah. It's cute, Tommy and Tyrone, that you both have said, like, man, he's sort of look like, he's like, look banged up. We should give him a break. Like, as if the guy doesn't get out of bed limping. I mean, he limps to his breakfast cereal in the morning. He limps in his, I'm sure Disaster Personnel, he's limping.
I was going to say, that's the only time I've never seen him limp. It's in that music video.
He digs deep. So, I mean, that's nice that you acknowledge that. And I guess there is some logic to that. And here in the second half of the podcast, we are going to be welcoming in Super Joseph Resis as well. But let's get back to the discussion of Tim Beckham versus Jake Burger. Let's assume that they do need to give, because this is sort of an easy stretch, and maybe let's not rush Yoán back because he's actually a little more hurt than he usually looks. He's not actually in full roll around on the ground like Alexei or Ramírez used to do. So let's give him that break. maybe we can afford to push that and have a strong full second half. Then it does seem like the decision is down to, you got to have somebody who can play the infield. It really does seem to come down to Jake Burger versus Tim Beckham. And I just said somebody who can play the infield, and I'm not sure that's Jake Burger. My vote here, in part, it is something having to do with, I don't know, something somebody said about the showcasing, and the same reason why to Tommy Barbee chagrin, Micah Rodolfo hasn't been moved up from Birmingham because he's doing fine. Let's just let him be because that's a trade chip. I'm not sure you move Jake Burger up from mashing 320, whatever his crazy slash is at Charlotte, playing with the bouncy ball. You move him up so that he can, he's not going to do better. He's not going to do better with the White Sox. So I'm not sure you make that move. Plus, let's face it, even though he's not played in like 800 years, his service clock starts. This is not a White Sox type move, no matter how much Hollywood is tugging at their hearts. I am voting both logically, and I think what the White Sox will do, that it might be something like a Tim Beckham. They've already maybe made the move, but I'm curious to know who it should be, Burger or Beckham. You can't abstain. You do have to vote. There's no choice here. You have to vote.
I would go with Beckham as well. That, like the reasons you kind of mentioned, and also just kind of bringing Burger up. If you're going to have him playing the infield, like second base or something, it's a lot to learn. To learn a new position and then to learn how to hit major league pitching, and not everyone can do it as seemingly flawlessly as Andrew Vaughn in left field, who just seems to be a natural left fielder.
Yeah, Jeremy, I was going to say, the White Sox don't seem to care. In fact, I think they're starting now to want to mismatch positions. Maybe it's going to be Sebi Zavala coming up to play third base because they don't seem to care, especially when Andrew Vaughn is playing third base.
This is the new Tony La Russa thing. Just like he invented closers, we got positionless baseball. Yeah. Give me all the first basemen and DHs, and I'll just put them in a position.
He wants to go into the Hall of Fame a second time.
Exactly.
For his new innovation.
This is it.
Right. This is the new La Russa for the 2020s. All right. That's 2 votes. Beckham. You can vote with your heart. You can vote with your head. You can vote with both. Who else? What are the other votes?
See, I have to vote for Burger, mainly just because I don't buy that whatever he does in a couple weeks would affect how he's viewed in trades, mainly because I don't think he's viewed that highly anyway. Yeah. I think Sox fans overrate his value a lot, but I don't know. I feel like if you're going to call him up, having him face, what is it, Detroit and then Minnesota pitching isn't that different from what he's seeing already. So I'm kind of, I don't know, bring him up, let him play third base for a couple weeks.
I agree completely. Like that's why I don't see it as being that much of a risk, because this is probably the easiest part of the schedule the Sox will have. And if anything, it only increases his stock, because if he starts hitting major league pitching, that's when I think more people will start to pay attention to him as a serious prospect that has some upside in his bat.
And look at Super Joseph just waltzing in. He swings it to the Eastern time zone favor. He just waltzes in as a tie-breaking vote. Sox math champ, rolls out of bed and decides to join the podcast. And now you get to cast the deciding vote. Okay, you can't punt it, Joe. Who's it going to be, Beckham or Burger?
I'm going to go with Beckham. Burger is certainly the more fun pick of the two. I mean, he's obviously got a great story. The only major... or I would say a reason that hasn't been really floated out there yet that I think deserves some attention is that Beckham just doesn't, historically in the major leagues, he just, the computers don't like his fielding. That's just, while he does have a position that makes perfect sense for him, he hasn't really been very good at fielding it. Burger, I know that has major disaster potential. Obviously I would definitely have more confidence in Beckham to provide value with his defense over Burger. And that's really the main tiebreaker for me, but it's not as easy of a call as I would have thought initially, like prior to looking into Beckham's defensive history. But I would pick him as the more like plausible option who has more of a fit with the roster.
I'll offer two reasons, pro and a con, for either one of these guys. Berger is on the 40-man, so there's not going to be any monkeying around with that. That's probably something that would favor Berger. Beckham, you call him up for this stretch. Like Tommy pointed out, it's the weakest stretch, so it's sort of no stress. And if you end up with a hole at third base, whoever it is, if it's Andrew Vaughn, things are probably not going to necessarily make a huge difference in the wins or losses. But you can also discard, Beckham. If you try to DFA him and he gets claims, like, okay, whatever, who cares? You're not burning an option for Berger. Beckham's a replaceable guy. Berger's obviously part of your future, whether there's a chip or whatever. So you can sort of like practice here a little bit. Again, the White Sox are in a position where it's not late September where they just got to have wins and squeeze top value of every position. So you can make an argument. You guys have made a good argument, really, either way, for it being like, hey, why shouldn't it be Berger? And, I'm not like I'm going to be disappointed either way. It's interesting to try to muse about it. It does seem like the initial sniffles about it have to do with maybe Jake Berger getting a call. He's not in the lineup, I don't believe, for Charlotte tonight, which could be quite a tell. But let's talk about another guy before we wrap this up. Let's talk about another guy who's come up, and maybe it'll just be easy Tim Beckham's already been in the major leagues. Jake Berger hasn't. Apparently it's really easy to come up, play a corner outfield, a corner infield position. You just mash the hell out of the ball, because Gavin Sheets had himself about as good an opening series as you could hope for. And as far as I can tell, did not really biff anything defensively. I don't think he was actually making plays, but certainly didn't hurt himself. He did not end up in the fishing net like Aloy would have, being called up. So pretty pleasant development, given that we all probably went in saying, okay, well, Gavin's thrown in right into right field, and acquitted himself pretty well.
Yeah, this weekend had to be like the best case scenario for Gavin Sheets at the plate. I think Tommy kind of mentioned how he just looked like a professional hitter already. And he came up in a lot of situations where runners were in scoring position. And, that's kind of a place where you kind of worry about guys getting their first major league at bats. And he made quality at bats. I think one of them was like the hard liner, and then he had like a sacrifice fly today. I mean, that's just quality outs. There's productive outs that the White Sox lineup hasn't always gotten this year. So, I mean, come up and, hit a 3 extra base hits, a home run, get quality at bats from this guy. If he can just keep doing this, obviously probably not at this level, but just do something similar to this, it's a huge addition for the team moving forward.
Yeah, I think what surprised me too is that Tony La Russa has been very interesting handling rookies, where he's put them in pinch hitting situations or in very limited roles until they have grown more comfortable, so on and so forth. And with Sheets, it just kind of seemed like he just let him hit the ground running. And I know it's against the Twins, but still, to see him play full games and be in positions like you mentioned, where those were situations and scenarios that impacted the outcome of the game, and at no point did it seem like the situation was too big for him.
So nice to hear you say. So nice to hear, Tommy, you say, oh, it's just against the Twins. Oh, that sounded great, rolling off of your tongue there. All right, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, it was nice to see him hit for power too, because I remember that was the biggest knock on him early on as a prospect, was he was a first baseman who just didn't hit extra base hits. So that was nice to see. It was also odd to see him and Andrew Vaughn, who was a prospect who I thought would block him, both in the lineup and neither at first base. That was just kind of a weird thing to see. But it was just, he just looked like he didn't look out of place at all. He just looked like he had been there for forever. All of his at-bats were quality, and just he was hitting the ball hard everywhere.
You didn't realize, Tyrone, this is the new White Sox, and everybody's going to play out of position. We're going to have full outfields of just, again, Sebi Zavala might be called up to play center. We don't know. But why not play those two guys? Two guys who've never played before in the outfield. And I think Gavin Sheets has still only played 15 games in right. I mean, he still played mostly first base, even in Charlotte. So, man, thank God for the AL Central that you can just do these crazy real-time experiments and be on pace for like 95 plus wins. It's pretty sweet. Speaking of on pace for, there are not, I think I managed to miscount. There's too much pressure hosting a podcast and trying to count games on the schedule because I always get the number wrong. I think there are just 9 games left, three game series. Sounds right to me, but you can correct me. How many of these utterly the strawberry shortcake games to the All-Star break, the last easy stretch the White Sox have? Not that it's impossible after the All-Star break, but this is the last real cream puff stretch the White Sox have. Detroit, Twins, Orioles, even on the road. How many games do we expect, not want, how many do we expect the White Sox to win in a nice push to really get some momentum going into the All-Star break, even with half a lineup the way they've got going right now?
Do they need to win any of these games, really, is my opinion. Yeah. I mean, it's the AL Central in 2021. It is really bad.
The answer is always yes, Joe. You know this.
Sox math comes with the 0. I like it.
No, that's a slight exaggeration. I'll give a serious answer and say 5 wins. 5 out of 9 would make me happy.
And the White Sox, somehow Sox fans would not burn Sox Park down just winning 5 games of this easy cream puff schedule. We'll find something to bellyache about. You know that. You're just saying 5 and you're content and the lead is intact and all that. None of us are going to be happy with 5. We're all going to be freaking out. And Lance Lynn will be dead, or Jake Berger will never have made it to on the team plane. Josh Donaldson will be just chasing the White Sox down and then harassing them from the stands. Okay. Super Joseph comes in with a low estimate of 5. Okay, I'm guessing most of you are going to take the under, but lay it on me. Somebody else got a 0?
I'd say 6 wins. Go with 6. I mean, I think I go in every series against teams like this, expecting you win 2 out of 3, hoping for a sweep. I think 7's obtainable, sweep one of them, win 2 out of 3 of the next 2. I mean, realistically, they could win all 9. I mean, the teams are just bad that they're playing, but it's hard to win. What would it be then? 13 games in a row? That'd be quite the stretch then going into the All-Star break. True. So I'd say like 6.
Yeah, I agree. 6 or 7.
Yeah, I'm going to go 7 just because I'm feeling super optimistic after the past series. Like if you would have asked me before this, I thought the team was trash and terrible, and just they were gonna. But now they've swept the Twins, so why not?
Okay, guys. 11 years ago, I started on the Chicago White Sox beat right after the Stanley Cup parade. I started on the beat during a stretch of time, which the White Sox I think tied a record for best 30-game stretch going into an All-Star break by going 25-5. And I thought, man, championships are easy. I just guided the Blackhawks to the first Stanley Cup win in 49 years. And now I'm going to see the White Sox win another World Series. It turned out it wasn't so easy, but I'm going all in. I'm going to say, let's take 9. Let's get crazy. Let's charge into this break because even with half a lineup, these are lousy teams. The Twins, I guess, are the best of them, even though they're just in 4th place. So why not run the table? Let's take 8 or 9. Maybe I'll say 8 because there'll be some weird game and you don't want this kind of pressure of a streak because then the White Sox will be the best in baseball and they'll be crushed under the pressure. I'm going 8 or 9. So I'm taking the opposite of Joe. Joe says, who cares? They're playing triple A. American League Central's triple A. Who cares? And you're not wrong, Joe. You're not wrong, but this is where we got to get fat because coming on the second half, it's going to be rough. We got Astros, we got Athletics. It's not just somehow we're not going to continue to play the Tigers and the Royals and even the Twins the rest of the season. Still got quite a few games with them though. We can never really escape.
Fair points about the post All-Star game schedule. I still have memories of the 2019 week right after the All-Star break. That was just a total nightmare. It's an entirely different team this time around, but I don't think I'll be forgetting that post All-Star break week in 2019 anytime soon. Like they entered the break just 2 games under 500, and people were thinking, oh, maybe the Sox will make a surprise push late, and that week right after just completely put an end to all hopes like that. So yeah, hopefully different luck this time around.
Leave it to a lousy host to me to throw like me to throw out an essay question right as we're trying to wrap up. But are we pretty content now, having gone maybe a turn through the rotation in this like post-spin, post-Spider Tack era, that while things aren't great, the White Sox seem to at least be holding serve with how they're doing sort of versus other rotations, and whatever step back's being taken is sort of a step back everybody's taken. As in other words, the White Sox managed to beat up Minnesota more than Minnesota beat up the White Sox in terms of whatever's changed with guys like Dylan Cease and so on. Pretty content with where we stand in terms of pitching rotation and bullpen?
Yeah, I think I am. I mean, for the most part, they still look pretty solid. I mean, it could be like DeGrom and give up 3 runs in the first inning or whatever he did today, and he tastes terrible now. But they're okay, I think so.
Rotation, I feel good. Bullpen, I still want another arm, but I don't think the Sox are any worse position right now than they were before.
Yeah, I agree. The bullpen is still the like really worrying spot, but I don't know. The rotation, it's hard because I feel like they've all done reasonably well. I mean, I know Cease had like a lot less spin on his pitches yesterday, but also he was fine. Like the results were typical, so I'm not too worried about the rotation, especially compared to other teams.
Yeah, it's been surprising. Like in the preseason, I was thinking like the bullpen was the one piece of the team that could not fail. And if there was like an injury, for maybe in the rotation or on some of the positions on the field, especially center field, like, oh no, that it would be like a horrible thing. There's no way that they would have, the depth to, recover from that. But they've been doing okay with like the injuries to the position players, and the bullpen has quite a few gaps right now. But I'm still feeling good about the rotation, like knock on wood. But yeah, I'm definitely in agreement about the bullpen surprisingly being like the thinnest area on the team.
Yeah, imagine the White Sox pulling, and I'm speaking way out of school here, but imagine if they can get away with using Michael Kopech not as an emergency spot starter, but as like your stopper, your 2, even maybe 3 inning guy, and not having to burn, this innings limit that apparently he's on with really any rotation move. That they can somehow get away with that this season would be extraordinary, because having him as a guy, as much as I'd love to see him in the rotation, to have him as a guy who can just be your spot guy, just killing teams, like your 5A, your 5B, your 6 starter, just roaming all over the place. Holy cow, is that going to be shot in the arm to a rotation that is invariably going to flag a little bit? They cannot keep up. Again, I'll knock on wood that they will keep it up, but they cannot keep up what they're doing. And I mean, that's a nice guy to have in your pocket. We've been talking about Garrett Crochet as sort of like the equal to Kopech. It seems like he's not there. Still legit factor, but not quite there. Kopech, a guy that you can throw out maybe for a couple innings every 2-3 games. That's a sweet thing to have.
Yeah, I will say that the Twins broadcast today, for a good inning, or the inning that Kopech threw, they were really pining for the Sox to trade Kopech, saying they need to really trade him because what good is he in the bullpen? They have too many good starters. I'm just like, I don't think that's the way to go. But you guys can think that. Maybe that's why you guys are where you are.
Exactly. That's not how it works at all.
Yeah. All you got to do is open the media guide and look and see, oh yeah, Jerry Reinsdorf's the owner. Yeah, Michael Kopech's in the rotation next year. There's no doubt about it. It's nice to dream on Lance Lynn and Carlos Rodon being in the rotation next year, but that's another podcast. That's a podcast for the future. I guess this one's got to wind down. We've had some incredible representation and some second timers. Love it. Come on. Super Joseph Resis. This old hat for him. When he's not solving Sox math, he's on a Southside Sox podcast. So, hey, come on. Thanks for joining, Joe. But there's no novelty there. Tommy Barbee, thank you for hopping on. And the second timers, Tyrone, Palmer, Jeremy, Karll. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for chipping in some good thoughts. And again, sleeper agents giving us the insight from the Twins broadcast, as painful as it is to hear, and Tyrone from the ballpark. We had a ton of Southside Sox representation at the park. That was nice to see. I'm guessing that's going to be happening very frequently, and there's going to be photos flying all over the place of everybody meeting each other and whatever, getting a little taste together, whatever it is. But thanks for I guess we didn't get much of a ballpark report, but thanks for being there, representing Southside Sox by proxy. I can't be there. Tommy can't be there. Super Joseph gets there sometimes. Jeremy, Karll, did you? That game got canceled, right, Jeremy? You're.
Yep. Yeah. Like
you were there
for an hour, 2.5 innings.
They didn't know you drove 8 hours to see the goddamn game.
I know. That's what I was saying.
That ain't right.
Like, just play it. Just do it.
That ain't right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, as always, for listening. Hey, it's 50 podcasts. That's ridiculous. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Of course, always for reading, sometimes even watching. We'll be back, I'm sure, just in a matter of a few days, because I'm going to just keep rolling. You heard it. I predicted 9-game streak. So we'll probably be hopping on after Detroit to just chuckle about the Bengals and laugh at them a little bit and laugh at what the broadcaster said and talk about how great Jake Berger's first weekend in the major leagues was. But we will be back probably in just a few days, and hopefully these guys all join me too. Thanks everybody for hopping on. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back with more Southside Sox podcasts real soon.